you're live. And there you are.
There
We're
are.
live.
Now
Oh,
we're
I
live.
almost clicked leave meeting.
Oh,
And I did that once right after I went live, and I left Christy Harmon like all by herself, like saying, what the heck? Where'd Sandra go? Okay, well, I'll just start talking.
That's something I would do. But here we are. Hello, ladies.
hello.
We're live.
Hello, we're live.
Monday.
Hello. Yep. So Shannon, me, and we have a special guest who's sitting right over there, named Carolyn. Hello, welcome, Carolyn.
Hello, thank you so much.
So tell us all about you. What do you do? Who you are?
I am a midlife fitness coach, and I work with women, typically 40 and over, I would say. Most of my clients want all or some of the following. They want to lose weight. They want to get stronger and more toned. They want to feel cute in their clothes. They want to like the way they look in photographs. They may want to improve some health markers like, blood pressure and cholesterol. Maybe they want to get some energy back, all those things. And all of that I call getting your groove back. So women 40 and over who want to kind of get their groove back.
I love that.
Mm-hmm.
And you are amazing, I have to say. Absolutely amazing.
Thank you.
And I think you have some important things to share, because part of what Sandra and I talk about, or will talk about, is the diet culture, right? Which I know we've had discussions, and I believe your feelings are similar to ours, where we've all grown up in that mentality of you have to go hard and you have to go harder when things stop working for you.
Yeah.
And that's just not true, right?
It's actually the opposite, especially as we get older. Yeah, it's true.
Yeah. So would you like to maybe share with everyone a little bit about that, and maybe how, as we age, our perceptions of how our body works and how we need to look at it and think about it maybe change also?
Yeah. And maybe I could take just a couple minutes initially just to sort of describe my relationship with diet culture and how that all kind of played out in my life. So I think I've said this to you before, but I grew up in the 70s. My elementary school years were in the 70s, and I was the fat kid in the class when there was only one. It was like one fat kid per class. Maybe there would be a boy who was a little chubby, but it was usually me. And now I know there are all kinds of shapes and sizes in these elementary school classes, but usually it was me and then a whole bunch of skinny kids. And so I was very aware of my physical self from a very young age. I tell a story. I've told you this story about how all I've ever wanted to be my whole life was a dancer. Even when I was a little kid, I just wanted to be a dancer. And when I was 8, all of my little friends went and joined a dance class. And I desperately wanted to do it too. But I was so appalled at the idea of me in a leotard in front of my peers. So I didn't do it. I was the only one in my little friend group, I think even in my class, who didn't do it. But I learned all the routines when they rehearsed at home. I helped them do their makeup when it was time for their recital. I went to the recital. I did all the footsteps, all the choreography in my head as they were on stage. But even at that young age, I knew that I felt that was not my place, that was not for me. Even though I desperately wanted it, it was not for me. And from there, as I got older, I wanted to do that. And so I did all kinds of really unhealthy things to try and get myself to lose some weight. And, you name the diet and I've been on it. I mean, again, from a kid all the way through high school. And it didn't do much for me because I couldn't stay on it because it was restrictive and miserable. It was terrible. So then I would ping pong to the other side and do the overindulgence. And so it went ping pong from restriction to overindulgence. And I just pretty much either tread water or got bigger and bigger and bigger. Eventually, I did lose weight in high school. I lost my first 45 pounds, not in a healthy way, but I started to dance. I choreographed the spring musicals. I made the dance company in college. I went on to teach aerobics in my early 20s. And so that feels like it feels like a success story, but I kind of got there in a way that I wouldn't recommend to anybody. The struggle continued as I got older and became an adult. And it wasn't until I let go of that whole diet mentality that I really, found some peace. I wasn't taking up all of my brain power to think about food and how I was going to have willpower that day. And, from the moment I woke up, that's what I thought about to the moment I went to bed. And it's exhausting, and it doesn't leave a whole lot of room for other things that are actually important in your life. So it wasn't until I kind of let that go, I stood back and I looked at sort of like what my habits were and chose one to work on, one that I thought was the big needle mover. And once I kind of got that more under control, I found the next one and the next one until I got to a point where I have a series of habits that keep me in an acceptable range for me. And I don't have to think about it anymore. And it's so freeing. It is just so freeing. And not only that, it works. It worked better than any kind of restrictive diet ever could for me, that ever did for me. And for most of my clients. Most of my clients come to me with a long and rich diet history.
Mm-hmm. And how do you feel about your body now versus how you felt about your body all that time?
Well, now you add in aging, and that's a whole nother topic. But I feel proud. I just turned 58. I've been strength training since I was 30, almost 40 years. And I feel strong. I am as strong as I've ever been. I know that by just what I'm lifting on a weekly basis, but I feel good about my body. My God, it's done amazing things for me. It's birthed 3 children. It's let me do a marathon. It lets me hike when I want to. It lets me, so that the thing that's changed is less the aesthetic for me and more how I feel. And if I feel strong, if I feel confident, if I feel healthy, it comes across. It comes across in photographs. It comes across in lots of ways. I think a lot of women, well, first of all, I know that we're all so hard on ourselves, so much harder than other people who look at us. I have clients regularly who say the most horrible things about themselves and their bodies to me. And I have to remind them that, I don't think people see you that way, and they certainly wouldn't call you the names that you called yourself. I think that's really harmful.
Yeah. I just want to interrupt 1 second. We had a question. Hi, Nadine. Nice to see you. So Nadine, so she missed the start, but she strength trains after cardio. Do you have a recommendation about the cardio portion of my workout, which is, I feel like you were going down this route anyway?
Mm-hmm. It doesn't really matter. I mean, I think in general, it's strength training first and then cardio. Is that what Nadine does?
Does the
Strength
other
train after, she goes the opposite way.
It depends on how if you're going to lift heavy, then you're going to want to do that when you're fresh, not after you do your cardio. So it's typically better to do weight training first and then cardio. But maybe we'll get into it. I don't know how old Nadine is, but
she's our age. She's younger than me. Actually, she's probably way younger than me, but she's, I think, getting up there into our age range.
Well, we were taught in the 90s that lots and lots of cardio was the way to go if you wanted to lose body fat. And we now know that that is not actually true, that it is less effective than strength training. There is a place for cardiovascular exercise. Your heart needs it. You know, you need to be, your lungs need it. But I always tell my clients to treat it like a side dish, treat strength training as your main dish. And you only really, if you're in the age of menopause, you really don't want to overdo it. So you're going to want to do probably 3 to maybe 4 strength training sessions a week. And as for cardio, maybe 2 times a week, 10, 20 minutes, that's it. And then lots and lots and lots of leisure walking, as much as you can. And maybe we'll get into why that is later, but
actually, why not right now? Why is strength training so much more important?
Well, so let's talk, should we jump into old in terms of older women? Should we talk about older women? Okay. So when we get into the age of menopause, and I say that because it includes perimenopause, menopause, and postmenopause. So when we get into that age bracket, our hormones change. And one of the things that happens is that our estrogen levels diminish. And one of the things that estrogen does when we have lots of it is it helps keep a cap sort of on cortisol. Cortisol is our stress hormone, and it's sort of a governor on cortisol. When those estrogen levels diminish, there's nobody keeping an eye on cortisol. It's just going crazy. It can do whatever it wants to do. So that's why we become so much more stress reactive as we get older. And that stress reactivity can manifest in increased irritability, but it also manifests in when we have chronically high levels of cortisol, it tends to want to store body fat, especially in the belly area. And one thing that your body reads your workouts as stress. We need the workouts, but our body reads it as stress. So ideally, we would do our targeted number of workouts per week, just sort of the minimum effective dose. So to me, it would be 3 strength training sessions a week, maybe 2 short cardio sessions a week. And here's where the walking comes in. The walking acts as a cortisol lowerer. It cools your jets. It is, especially if it's outside. If you just take a leisure walk, not a power walk, but just a leisure walk, enjoying the outside, maybe listening to music or a podcast or something as you go, it helps you lower your stress hormones. And so that's what that is all about. You can do any number of other things to help lower your cortisol, but for some reason, and I'm not sure exactly what it is, but it's that leisure walking outdoors that really tends to be magic. And I will say the recommended amount is, and I hesitate to say this because everyone's so busy, the recommended amount is an hour a day, most days of the week. Most of us don't have that kind of time. So I always just say, even if it's just 10 or 15 minutes, most days of the week, just go do it. Prioritize it like you do your strength training and your cardiovascular exercise. It's that important.
Right. Yes, totally. And I like that you brought up the hormone aspect of it, because especially for women in our age range is critical. Because when you have those elevated levels of cortisol, and you may not feel stressed, right? The way we live our lives under constant go, do this, do that, that's stressful. And so that creates that chronically high cortisol level. And when your cortisol level is high, your body is working to try to get it down. And part of that is it shunts away from other processes. And when your cortisol is high, right, you have all that glucose running through your body, right? And at that point in time, your cells are only in fat storage. They're only in storage mode. There's only one way in, there's no way out, because your cells are like, oh, we have to have some place to deal with all this cortisol. And that's why that also impacts weight gain. as our sex hormones decrease as we age, our cortisol levels are so high, and that creates that weight gain. So you could be eating perfectly well, right? You could, and it might not make any kind of difference, and you're like, what's going on? So it's an interesting interplay between all of these facets.
It is. I think the big takeaway is, so you could be eating perfectly well, or you could be eating as you always have.
Yes, right.
And started noticing some weight gain, or, weight shifting on your body fat shifting. But I think the bottom line is simply this, that when we get into perimenopause, things do change for hormonal reasons. And so really restrictive diets and really punishing workouts end up kicking you in the ass, in that they're not going to take you where you want to go. This is where the kinder, gentler, more consistent routine is going to be your friend.
Yes. And all of these changes also play into our perception of our bodies, right? So you may have had one perception of yourself as you age, a different perception of yourself, right, in a different stage of life. And now this is all new. So you could be like, either, oh my God, what is happening? This has never happened to me before. Or you could have, like you and I, right, have been bigger our whole lives and lost weight, and now we're gaining it back. And so all of those old insecurities and old issues with body perception come back. They could
for
be,
sure.
right? They could be just arriving, or they could be coming back. So it's an interesting topic to explore, for sure, and one I'm sure that will come up during the day retreat.
I think as we get older, if there are ladies like you described, like us and Sandra, I think that as we get older, then we have the added layer of like, well, I know better. Like, we know all this stuff, but the old thoughts come forward. And so then we're in the position really of, they're kind of at odds. You have your new understanding of body acceptance and body positivity and all of that, but then the old hurts and the old thoughts about yourself come, and they're at odds. And it's sort of an interesting exercise to just sit and let yourself have that conversation in your head and see how it comes out. Because I do think that in terms of weight loss and fitness and body image and all of it, it requires a ton of mindfulness and self-talk and examination. It really all happens in here. It's not when I know that sometimes when I talk to a potential client and they're like, no, just tell me what to eat, just tell me how to exercise, I know that we're probably not a good fit. Because I know, at least for me, that most of the change happens in your brain. Most of the growth starts there. And then you can start implementing the things that will take you where you want to go. Just being given another meal plan isn't going to change jack. It just isn't going to change anything.
Yeah, I totally agree with you 1000% on that, Carolyn.
Yeah, I've had myself on mute because can you hear my dogs? It's like they're going crazy right now. Oh, good. Okay. All right. I loved what you said about gentler, more consistent workouts is the way to go.
Yeah.
I love this conversation around, as our reproductive hormones start to decrease, we experience other hormones kind of ramping up. And I think one of the things that we don't talk often enough about is how our bodies were designed for a very specific life evolutionary path, right? And cortisol was there to help us get through that lion, right? And the woolly mammoth that was coming after us, right? And the fire that it was there for a reason that is no longer part of our everyday life. And yet our body is responding like we're constantly being confronted by lions and tigers and bears. Oh my.
Yeah.
Mhm.
The truth of it is cortisol isn't bad. We need cortisol to
Yes.
get up out of bed and do what we need to do every day. And to, it's just that when we lose that governor, when we lose that cap of estrogen, then our body isn't doing it automatically anymore. We have to do it manually now. So we have to include stress management in our routine in a serious way. That's one of the biggest struggles that most of my clients and I have with all of this, which is to actually prioritize stress management as we do nutrition and exercise. But it has to be there for there to be an impactful body change. It just does.
Yeah.
I think the other thing that I really loved what you were talking about was this whole idea of being mindful, right? And just making time to just manage our emotions and our thought processes. It's such an important part of any weight loss program or really weight management program. And I love what Nadine posted. She's like, she's hit a wall. And my own experience is that when there's this really awesome book I've passed on to Shannon. It's called The Burnout Book. It's
Oh,
yeah.
yes.
And Emily and her sister, they talk about this, that book. Do you want to just read out the title?
Burnout, the secret to unlocking the stress cycle.
Yeah. So what they talk about is the role that cortisol plays and how, when you're burnt out, it doesn't really matter if you take the stressor away because your body is just not able to respond. And what they talk about is as exercise can be a way to deal with this stress, but that we take exercise to a level where it becomes this competition and and it becomes a way of beating ourselves up. Oh, I'm exercising, or I didn't do my exercise, or I didn't. And then it becomes counterproductive, which is exactly what you're saying. Going at it hard and going at it like all the time does not do your body any good at all.
No. And I would caution very strongly against the whole all or nothing approach to that's got to go, because, I've said before that if you're going to go with the all or nothing mindset, you get nothing every time. You do. So what if you only have time to, or energy or desire to work out for 5 or 10 minutes on a given day, do that. If you just, and the same thing goes with the making different nutritional habits, one small change at a time. Don't overwhelm. Or what about when people say, I blew it. I had 2 desserts after dinner. Screw it. I'm just going to blow it out the whole weekend. I'll start again on Monday. How many times have we said that?
Yep.
Not
Yes.
helpful.
Yes. People use food and exercise also in that shame, guilt, judgment spiral, the circle, right? Oh, I did so awful. So I need to exercise super hard and I need to be super restrictive and really good when I eat, right? And then they go too hard and they're starving. And so then it flips it the other way, just like you were saying. And that creates guilt and shame and a perception of self that is not healthy.
One of the things I try to get my clients to do is navigate the middle, I call it. So that means making a moderate choice. And there's a whole conversation about what moderate means, but instead of making a restrictive choice or a fuck it choice, pardon my French, it's the middle choice every time. And so how many of us with a diet history, how many of us have ever actually tried navigating the middle for a long period of time? That's not deprivation. It's not overindulgence. It's right in the middle. Because I find that that's what serves people the best. They have some satisfaction in the way that they eat every day. So they don't feel deprived. They don't trigger that binge, or they lessen the trigger of a binge. I think it's the answer. Personally, it takes practice to figure out what that means and how it works for you, but it's totally worth it to me. That to me is what frees up the bandwidth, the diet bandwidth in the end. for a
Amen.
long-term solution.
So Carolyn, I was wondering if you could maybe talk a little bit about the importance of weight training, especially for women.
Yes. Gosh, as we get older, we lose muscle mass. I think every year after age 35, typically we lose a little bit. And so why does that matter? It matters a whole lot, because not only do we get weaker and mushier when we lose that muscle mass, we also, our metabolic rate goes down. So that means that it costs fewer calories just to be alive. That's why when you're eating the way that you always have, and you find yourself gaining weight, this is why. It's because your metabolism, your body doesn't need as many calories as it used to just to be alive. So that's one really, or three really good reasons not to get weak, not to get mushy, and not to keep your metabolic rate high. But it also strengthens your bones, and that's a problem for women as osteoporosis as we get older. Strength training impacts your balance and coordination in a really significant way. So if you are strong, if your connective tissue is strong, you are less likely to fall because you are more stable. If your bones are strong, you are less likely to break them when you fall. And it's super important. And let's just talk about getting up off the floor. And this isn't a joke, getting off the toilet when you get older. This is real. These are real problems.
Mhm.
And if you don't have the strength to do it, I will never say it's too late. It's not ever too late. I have clients in their 80s and they're amazing. But also strength training can improve your sleep. It can help with depression symptoms. It can help reduce arthritis pain and sometimes back pain. If you strengthen your core, it can help with back pain potentially. It just increases your overall quality of life. I really do think it is the fountain of youth. And in terms of stress, when you are lifting properly, it becomes very zen. You really can't think about anything else. It's kind of a nice vacation from everything else going on in your life. This is your time. You are focused, and it's I can't tell you the confidence that my clients leave with after, we've worked together for a period of time, not just in terms of what they can do physically, but it just bleeds right into other areas of their life. They just feel more capable. They feel more badass in lots and lots of ways. So, that's all important. In terms of fat loss, as I touched on, the more muscle mass you have, the more your body requires in terms of calories. So you get a little bit more wiggle room in your daily dietary allowance. And you get tighter and more toned. And also it's worth saying, I guess, while we're here, you will not get big and bulky if you start to strength train. Those ladies who are really, have lots of muscle definition and a lot of mass, that takes hours in the gym. It takes a specific strength training protocol, and it takes a specific diet. So you going in to lift a few 10-pound and 8-pound weights 2 or 3 times a week, that's not going to be an issue for you. So you can just let that one go.
Thank you.
Yeah. I can't say enough about it. I do think it's magic. I do think it's the fountain of youth. I think everyone should try it, and let me know how it goes. Mm-hmm.
So if we want to start doing some weight training, right? What's the best way to get started if we've not been doing anything?
The best way to get started is to work with a trainer, because like me,
He's amazing.
Well, form is super, super important. And especially as we get older, we don't want to get hurt, because that will just put you right off of strength training. Nobody wants to get hurt. But you want somebody who not only knows how to lift properly to all the different and put it together a plan for you, because you don't want to be willy-nilly. You want to have a plan so that you will see results moving forward. But also, as we get older, you would want to work with somebody who is aware of things like arthritis, or maybe you have shoulder problems, or maybe you have knee problems, or almost all of my clients have something that we have to, move around, work around. So to get started, I mean, videos are great to a point, but I really do recommend working with a trainer at least a few times so that you can feel comfortable and that you know that your form is on point and you know how to progress, because that's an important piece of it.
Yeah, form is super important because you do not want to hurt yourself.
And one of the circling back to the story that I told about wanting to be a dancer and not feeling like I didn't want to show myself. I still remember what that feels like to feel as though my physical self is holding me back from doing those things that I've wanted to try, but felt too intimidated to, or just didn't feel good enough to. So for some of my ladies, they always wanted to try lifting weights, but they didn't feel like they belonged in the gym, or they felt too intimidated to go to the gym. And so that's one of the reasons that I do this, is because I want those people to try it and see that it is for them, and to help them move away from that feeling of intimidation and, not being good enough. Everybody can do this.
It's interesting that you bring that up, because we have not discussed that yet. This whole idea of what I feel like when I go into a place where everybody else's bodies look fabulous and mine looks mushy, really mushy, and wiggles and jiggles. Looks like Jell-O.
Now stop.
Right.
No, but I'm serious. Like I know what that feels like to say, okay, I'm going to start it. I'm going to get better at being healthier. And then, showing up at the gym and just feeling like, I don't really want to be here because everybody's looking at me and I don't look like that.
Well,
Yeah.
here's a little secret. First of all, no one's looking at you. They're too busy looking at themselves in the mirror. Nobody's even, aware of you, really. I mean, typically that's the case. People are looking at themselves in the mirror and they're not looking at you. They're not thinking about you in the way that you are. So that's number one, but that's it is a good point. I remember when I was really heavy and I was jogging, I was trying to jog, and I am not a jogger. My body is not made for jogging, but I tried it and I'd be trudging down and somebody would always yell something out of the car window. And here you see people who are trying to improve themselves and everybody shits on them because, it's terrible. And so of course we feel that way. But so if that's something that you're uncomfortable with, going to the gym, it's fine. You don't have to. You can have a few pairs of weights in your basement and you can do it. You can go, my business is in the basement of my house. So my clients come to my house. It's just the two of us typically, and they don't have to worry about the whole gym thing. And they like that. But I'm just encouraging you, if the gym is a no-fly zone for anybody out there, you can do it at home.
Absolutely. There are no barriers, only the ones you set up for yourself. There's always a way around them.
Always. Always. And something is better than nothing. Something is better than nothing. Always. As long as it's consistent.
Yeah, I love that. I love the gentle and consistent. And we don't need as much as we think we need, as long as we're supplementing that with just leisure walks.
Yes. And that I'm going to keep repeating myself on the consistency front, because that really is the key to success here. It's the key to results. So when you decide on your program, I always recommend setting the bar fairly low so that you can meet it, so that you can be successful. so that you can be consistent and consistently meet that low bar. Then you could inch it up a little bit if you want to, but don't set it up here so that you're just going to fail, because that's just, it's keeping you in that diet all or nothing cycle that's going to get you nowhere.
Yep. I'm so on board with that mentality.
I love that, because I am like an all or nothing kind of a person, right? I'm like really intense. When I decide I'm going to do something, it's like set it way up here, right, Shannon?
Yes, but that's not the way to get to your long-term goal and be able to maintain that as you live your normal life.
Yeah.
Like, we want things that you can do consistently
Mhm.
in your everyday normal life, because that's how you will be successful.
Mhm.
Thank you, Carolyn. This has been wonderful. We're like, I'm sure we could talk for like another
I know.
hour, right? But we do have to cut it off at some point. I'm being the voice of reason here and keeping us on track.
I would like to offer your ladies, or your followers, not just ladies, but I have a couple of guides that people might be interested in. One is called, it's the Midlife Women's Guide to Fat Loss Friendly Happy Hour.
I love that one. That's a good one, ladies.
I do love cocktails. And so how do we work around that? And then the other one is brand new. I'm just putting it out this week. It's called The 4 Non-Negotiables of Midlife Fat Loss.
So
And
good.
maybe I could put the links maybe in
Yes,
your
please
comment
do.
section.
Yeah.
So if
Yeah.
anybody like them, I'd be happy to send them out.
Yes, please. We will post them. We'll post them on the bottom of the
Great.
comments or in the
And
comments.
Carolyn, if somebody's interested in reaching out to you specifically,
Mhm.
how do they find you?
I think the best way is, since this is going to be on Facebook, right?
Yes.
Best way is just to find me on Facebook. My name, Carolyn Ufford, Ufford, and send me a DM.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much
Ladies,
for having me.
yes, thank you. If you guys enjoyed this conversation, which I enjoyed this conversation immensely, this is some small touch points of what we're going to be discussing during the Nourish Day retreat. So we would love for you to join us. I know Vivian was like, I need to have lunch with all of you. I'm like, well, yes, you do. Please, we would love to see you. Come have lunch with us.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. And you know, yes. Yes. I think you've brought up so many good points, not just about how we view food and how we view exercise, but really how we see ourselves as those shift through all the different phases that our lives go through. So
Yes. Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you so much, ladies.
Awesome. All right.
Bye.
Bye.